on air for y'all. So as people climb in, we're gonna actually we got some pretty cool things to talk about. So I got Michael Neme with me today. Michael, I got a question for you, brother. Okay, so we just had a killer conversation off air, and the question for me to you becomes, what's the biggest challenge you feel is in our industry today?
Ourselves. I think that, dude, it's nonstop. If you follow my content, you hear me say it. Everybody is just so focused on rates, rates, rates. It's this, you know, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And at the end of the day, dude, it's not a rate play. I'm living proof of it. People just need to take a step back, look themselves in the mirror, and realize maybe it's a me thing. Maybe I have to actually, provide some other value outside of a rate, and results are going to happen from that. So that's, dude. I mean, I don't even think it's frustrating. It's just comical. It's like that's this industry. It's our own fault. That's our own fault right there. Boom. Start.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Okay, so I thought you were going to hard stop there. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you
Oh, you,
off.
you, hey, you know me, dude.
You know what? I was like, okay, he's gonna stop. He's gonna stop. He's gonna stop. He just gets. I figured, hey, we'll just get it in because you know what? The precursor to our conversation. I'll turn on the chat here for all y'all. Anyone that has any questions for Michael or I, be by all means jump in, ask the question. Let's get her going. Our pre-conversation was stellar, brother. I mean, it was energizing. It was it was full of emotion, full of passion. You know, I see a lot of salespeople's challenges these days, and we'll kind of go back to those conversations because I think it's really going to add value to everybody watching and listening to this once it gets recorded and produced. A lot of the salespeople's issues I find are coming because there's kind of two sections that I look at. One is they're just trying to make a sale, and the other is really becoming that resource and getting involved in helping the client accomplish goals, meet mandates, whether it be corporate or departmental mandates, and really help that client ease some of the pressure, I guess, if you will, some of the everything that's going on their shoulders, right? So to me, there's those two ends of it, Mike. And unfortunately, I think a lot of it comes from is that, hey, how can I move your freight? What do you think of that?
Dude, you already know what I think about that. But um, let's try. Let me take a step back, because I could just go off on this, and probably isn't going to benefit a lot of people because I just rant. But I think first and foremost, people from a sales side, people just don't understand their target audience. They don't even know really what they're selling. They don't even know. I see often, 3PLs. We'll just use a 3PL model, right? A sales reps in a 3PL model, they don't even know the benefits a 3PL brings to the table to a potential customer. They
Do you
all
think
of a
it's
sudden,
3PL or the 3PL as well as themselves?
I think it's their management. I mean, if we want to go on that route, I know there's only been one company, and that's the company I started at. That has really that's why I've scaled my career, a ton, is because they focused on sales training, literally explaining what value we bring to the table, what problems we can solve for certain customers, and focused on that so hard. And that's a reason why I was able to scale. They gave us a detailed roadmap to the goal we wanted to hit, or the goal that they wanted to us to hit.
So it's kind of twofold then. You have corporately a company that cares about your growth as opposed to most are paranoid that you're going to get customers and leave kind of thing. You've got second end of that was you started to realize what Mike was worth, what Mike can bring to the table individually as a customer. And I say that, Mike, because my whole thing for years now, when I figured out it's not logo and logo, it's Mike and Dan. That's where the relation, you know what I'm saying? That's where the relationship comes in. And when we have that, when we are congruent with traffic managers, load planners, whoever, everything changes. Like everything changes because service failures become, I'm not going to say null and void, but pretty damn close, man. Right? Like, talk to me about that. Talk to me, because I hear two things from you there. Right? You found who Mike is. You found what Mike can bring to the table. Plus, a company had your back.
100%. The company was a bonus, right? So let me slow it down on this part. So on the company side, it's funny. I'm actually going to be on we're talking about, cutting through the noise in the commodity sale, right? So obviously I've always said in my head, in an industry that's such a commodity, like logistics sales, supply chain sales, how do I how does Mike Neme, remove that and shine among the masses of, other salespeople in my industry? And people always think it's like, oh, we got a badass company, our company's great. Dude, the companies I worked for were awesome, but at the end of the day, I always go back to, I worked in Detroit when I first started my career. I'm talking, Dan, this was the most saturated market you would ever think of. I would walk, every door was hit. Customers either they hated our company, worked with our company, never, or you know what I mean? And I was able to go in there and sell these companies that hated our company. And that's when I started thinking about, it's a rep thing, right? It's like, okay, it's a bonus that, I could do X, Y, Z, and I have, all the bells and whistles with the company I work with. Yeah, that's an added, that's icing on the cake, right? But at the end of the day, if from the start, they hated the company I was at, but I was able to, provide or solve a problem that XYZ rep didn't. That's when I really started thinking like, okay, it's a more of a rep thing than it is a company.
1000%. My first, very similar story to yours. The first company I worked for is an enormous company, close to $1 billion company. And I can't tell you how many sales leads I came across where they said, oh yeah, well, you know what, this other rep that works at your company. And they, it was really, and I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. So there was a little bit of a different perspective, I believe anyways, on the other side of the fence, if you will, where it was like a company is a company. Whereas today people focus on individuals. Because I do believe, you and I were talking off air. I talk to 2-3 traffic managers a week in an interview style to bring that knowledge. Hey, Jose says you hit it on the nail there. To bring that knowledge to my customers, right? And when I bring that knowledge to my customers, most of them come back now and they say, you know what? No, it's about individuals and what is Mike or Dan going to do for me that this person might not, or what is ABC person going to do at a company where I might not like the company because of the last sales rep, but how can this sales rep change that tune, I guess, if you will.
I mean, dude, you're 100% right. And again, like I go back to, it's like, everybody had the same training I had, right, at the company I worked at. I just, again, and it's funny is because it's like I would like, not to get too deep in like saying transactional, non-transactional, but I've never sold transactional. Like, I mean, never. Like, the first company I worked for preached it, but not everyone always was taking a chance, right? And don't get me wrong, I took a couple chances, they ended up falling off, but it was all or nothing, right? So that was like, again, back in my head is, why so many people were focused on, talking about, freight rates going up or, capacity crunch. I was thinking about more of, how is this financially impacting a business? What are the economics? What are these things? I was more looking for business. I wanted to learn the business side of things, right? Because I'm targeting literally that was pushed too. I'm targeting executives. Dude, if I don't want to if I don't want to get spun down about, hey, Mr. CFO, Mrs. CFO, I don't want to have a shipping conversation, then I better figure out some ways that, are going to, attract, these type of executives to take my meeting. And that is what, again, even early on has separated me amongst the masses, even in my own internally in my company. Whereas, I was going in and looking at things from 10,000 feet up, figuring out, hey, listen, how do I increase their bottom line? It's not, maybe a rate can do that for, a small portion, but there's going to be, cost to serve analysis. Nobody, again, it's a me thing, right? I was the one who took it upon myself. They didn't teach cost to serve analysis at the company I was at. It was a me thing. That's where I was like, okay, this is going to drive the needle. This is really going to, increase profitability. I've proven it. That's another golf shot to add to my bag, right? So it's a really it truly is a big problem when self-awareness, I should say. People don't want to look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, is this a industry problem, or also is it just a me problem? I could sit here and complain about rates, truck drivers. Listen, I'm going to control what I can control, and that's what I bring to the table. Again, if you're at a company, you're stuck. If you're at a company, you can't control what bells and whistles they have, right? You work with what you got, but you can control what you bring to the table. So that's a huge thing that I always put in my head constantly and have since day one.
I see a lot of things transitioning in this last quarter. Um, I'm fully with you on the fact that, first and foremost, client profiles, sell to your client profiles. Certain people are, I'll go to my business, for example. I do executive coaching, sales coaching, and C-level coaching. And I do sales training. I've got online courses. I've got live things I do. I do all of that. I have some people I connect with and they say, hey, I'm not interested. Like, back off. Okay, you're not interested. Perfect. Next. But I have a very big filtration process for people I do work with. I was just speaking with a student today on this exact topic. Actually, I'm really glad that it came up in your conversation, because I think it's one that everyone needs to focus on, because not every customer is right for you. You focus on the non-transactional, right? There's other people that say, I focus on non-transactional. And then what we're finding now is, with all the pressure coming down from management, increase sales, increase volumes, increase GP, increase this, right? People are starting to take that transactional business, and we're actually starting to lose the vibe, the energy, the joy that we had in our business, right? This is the big reason for the HPLS summit in December. I mean, the big reason is to put that vitality, that energy, that excitement, that joy back in the world of logistics sales. I mean, Mike, it's crazy that if we just focus a little bit more on that filtration, the results that we can get as salespeople. I mean, absolutely insane.
You're right. I do want to say this though. I mean, I got some boys that work like strictly. I mean, and they kill it, right? Like, they are transactional, right? They literally are, and again, like, there's so many different types of salespeople too. You start realizing in this industry, like I've again, once I was with one company for like 5 years, and that's all right? You're married to someone. You're like, this is it. Which I'm happy though, because I was like, damn, there's a lot other, like, I always did the entire sales cycle, right? Never transactional, did the entire sales cycle from prospecting, qualifying, all that. And then I realized, I was always like, man, well, I got buddies in this industry that are brokering, calling carriers. I've never called a truck in my life. That's not my job, but they kill it. So I don't think necessarily, I mean, again, I feel like some people do like that, right? It's a thrill, right? I couldn't, there's no way in hell that I would ever feel comfortable of laying my head down at night, realizing that I have to wake up and again, beat up a bunch of people to make sure that, I get a bunch of loads, right? I couldn't live like that.
I hear you.
But I do see,
your end goal is different than theirs.
Yes, but yeah. So when my point was, when you talk about excitement, I do still think that there are certain people out there that like that thrill, right? That they want a fast sale. Hey, it's almost like Wolf of Wall Street type. They think, right? Is what I think is like, yo, let me get you a rate, and that's fine. I just think the way the industry is going though, and I'm telling you right now, more like, there's not many people, because it's usually a lot of like really, really not really hardcore salespeople in my type of sale, right? It's really smart engineers that might come across a deal internally like this to get it all outsourced. But the few that are out here like me, it's trust me, watching the next couple of years, the managed transportation, the one-stop shop type deal is going to take off, and it's only a matter of when, right? It's not if, it's going to happen. And I think people need to start transitioning into that mindset. And what I get is, there's obviously a ton of companies out there that might not have the backing of a company like GlobalTranz or all the bells and whistles. That's I can't say anything to that, but I would say is you better figure out how to again separate yourself from the masses and do what you can do from like your company standpoint and put some type of solution together and think higher level, because at the end of the day, they're the old broker model. I don't think it's ever going to die, but it's going to get weaned out hard.
Well, I agree with you that the typical, we got a truck in your area broker model, which just blows me away that people are still actually using that. I mean, that's from 27 years ago, but again, people are using it, and that model is going to, I agree, it's going to die out quick. I also see something, and love your opinion on it. I'm seeing a bigger transition to really a focus. And if they want almost a single source, a lot of people are willing to do two sources to get the best of both worlds. Like, you might not be as efficient on LTL Trans Canada as I can be. So they'll kind of segregate their shipping into two categories. When we start hitting 3 and 4, that's when things typically fall apart. I see it more, and I go back to, your cell versus, some of your buddies that, enjoy that hunt. I had a gentleman that used to, when I was doing sales training at a major company, I had a gentleman that was all about the hunt. I mean, this guy thrived on the hunt, right? And you know what I noticed? When he went away on vacation, numbers plummeted because that's his thriving.
But look at the hunt. Look at the hunt that we're all hunting, right? I'm just hunting for, executives and when I go on vacation. So, and again, how do I even word that? Like, again, that sucks. That really does stink, right? I couldn't live my life like that. It's like, you can't ever slow down. For me, 4, maybe 6 accounts, depending on the size of them. And I'm going to give them the boutique service they deserve. And they're all in. Like, I posted this comment, or I posted this status, and, I said, you might think I'm cocky or whatnot, but I could post my top 5 customers. They're already writing reviews about me. I tagged them in my comments, right? I'm not I know for a fact that they wouldn't leave me for, one, I know the margin I'm running, right? They know the margin I'm running. So there's no way someone could save them enough money to leave me, right? 2, again, they're not leaving me for a few bucks. If you're really providing or solving problems and, are literally, I always say is, I'm their guy. I am their guy for all things supply chain. If they have that, dude, that's tough to leave. So I was like that. I'm so confident that they would not leave me. My customers would not leave me if a million people called them, just because, again, instead of selling, I've just literally solved problems for them.
The first time I encountered that, so when I left my corporate career a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, year and a half ago, I had some customers for 17 years. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. I remember vividly, my first realization of what you just said. And it was with a company called Clio Wrap in Memphis, Tennessee. And at that time, Mark 7 was the broker in Clio Wrap. And I was dealing with a lady named Jeannie Cates at Mark 7. And so my first 2 major accounts were Plusmark and Clio Wrap. And those 2 were the leading manufacturers of wrapping paper and all that. I think Plusmark got sold to Hallmark cards or something in the years. There's been switches.
Yeah.
So these 2 accounts, I literally went from 0 to like 7 trucks a day, from 0 to well over, almost 10K GP a week, at like almost 17 years old when I first started in this industry. Okay. So it was a huge influx right away. And I made sure, I was in at 6:30, 7 a.m. I was out at 7 o'clock at night, something that you and I just spoke about, where, pick 5 things that really take you in that trajectory towards your goal. That wasn't my vision. I was like, like
Yeah.
the Tasmanian devil. I'd come in like a bull in a china shop and just,
Guys like us always revert back to that sometimes.
yeah, we do. And I remember getting a call from her, and she said, "Listen, somebody just came and is $200 less a truckload." And I mean, we're talking 7, 8 truckloads a day for probably September, October, November. That's a lot of freight, right? And that's a lot of money at the end of the year. And my heart sunk, Mike, because I'm sitting there going, crap, okay, in order to get that back, I mean, I would think I was running, full transparency, I was running maybe 275 a load on GP Canadian. So, if I were to do the math, I would have to drop the number below my cost, which means now I got to go back and quote unquote, be that broker and beat my carriers down, which I refuse to do. And then something that hit me is right after that sentence, she said, but I'm not even interested. And I mean, I'm a new sales rep. I'm like, what? And she goes, no, I'm not even interested. She goes, what you provide to me, the service you provide, the ability that when I give you 7 loads, I can go on with my day and I don't have to worry about it, is worth more than the $200. That's a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying every customer is going to do that, Mike, but it gave me that vision right then and there about what it means to really be a resource for your clients. And if, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're selling yourself as a resource. You're the guy to go to. You got buddies that are transactional that sell a rate or sell, I have a truck now kind of thing. That experience was, it was game changing for me. And that's part of the filtration system that I use to this day is how do you filter these people out so you
just
can get
nailed
those
it.
companies? Because you and I both know, right? You play the rate game and say the customer's delta is $75, hypothetically, right? So for at a $75 cut, they're going to change carriers. That means that it's a $150 cut to keep the customer.
Here's the thing is, Dan, we're not, I got to just say this. 90%, not, I don't know. Those aren't hard numbers. I don't know accurate numbers, but I would say 95% of the people in our industry are selling rates and getting, cut off because they don't sell to executive leadership. I did an interview with 25 years, senior vice president of multiple different companies, supply chain, right? She was VP of supply chain. Asked her again, and I know her well, vice president of supply chain at a company. I said, hey, she don't even make the call, right? She said it, go where the money's at. And nobody's going to any type of COO, C-level, VP level. And once you get there, you're thinking big picture. You're thinking, hey, how am I going to build? What's a scalable model? I want to build out a scalable model, whatever that may be for, tailored for my customer. And we're not talking rates. I think that it's such a, it goes without saying. You're trying to, you're going to, people don't think you're going to come in and cost them more. But again, goes back to, I had this conversation, no one can answer it. Everyone's like, rate. I said, well, why don't you ask the CEO of the company why they're doing that? No, nobody wants to give that answer because nobody's calling them. And I'm not sitting here trying to say, oh, look at me. But at the end of the day, if you want to have business conversations and build out, scalable models and not have to worry about, again, getting cut out for a few bucks, you need to talk to executive leadership, someone that actually can see these things. What's the financial impact of their, transportation department doing things the way they're doing it? You see where I'm going with this? And
Yep,
it's like nobody's doing
100%.
that. That's the issue. That's the issue. Bottom line, boom. Issue is if you're going to talk to a strictly just strictly only the transportation people in an industry are in the company that you're targeting, you're going to get what you get, right? Unless you get a really cool dude or a girl that like just wants to that just likes you, that gives you the freight. But at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10,
Or
you're
if
going to
you
end
get
up,
a manager that
yeah.
believes in the long-term viability, that, I mean, for me personally, okay, my customer profile, number one is resource. If you as a person who ships freight, I don't care what department you're in, I don't even care what level you're at, if you don't see the reality of your supply chain being one of the biggest assets to your
Top
business
5
development,
P&L.
to your growth, to your P&L, to everything, I put us right behind a really good product. Because it's not you build it and they come anymore. It's you build it and you got to get this thing in front of them all the time. But it's great if you have a great product. If it doesn't show up on time, if it can't meet deadlines, if it can't do anything, I once said there was a salesperson I was speaking to last week, where he's like, I'm struggling, and I said, okay, well, what's the problem? He says, nobody wants to hear me, and I asked him, I said, like, are you going to the right people? And he says, what do you mean? I said, well, and I love your opinion on it. I said, here's my thought. Like, if you're afraid to talk to C-level, start at the salespeople. Because I'll tell you one thing, salespeople and companies control way more than you think. How many times have you had a service failure or an issue go wrong, and all of a sudden when it gets to a level, the salesperson gets involved? How many times have we in our careers, as we're in that development stage and as we're building our careers, a salesperson gets involved or a customer says, yeah, my salesperson said I can't use you, right? As a 3PL, I put it right back and flip it. As a 3PL, if I had my ops team running something and they chose to use ABC Carrier, and ABC Carrier messed up, didn't own it, made it to a next level through lies or whatever the case may be, but it got up to a certain level where I got involved, I would then say to my ops team, you're not using them anymore. I don't care how much business we give them. If they can't solve the problem correctly, if we can't work as a team, understanding we're in transportation, shit happens, man. Come on. Like, we're dealing with man and machine. In one load, you've got, how many people at the shipper? You, me, ops, driver, dispatch. There's so many different personalities involved. Things are going to happen. But how do you deal with it? And if we as salespeople in this industry don't think that sales reps who sell that product to the customers don't have a say if things go bad, I think we really need to check ourselves.
You just hit it, dude. I mean, I was talking about this, so it's like, I don't know. I think we talked about it, but I call it like qualifying accounts, right? For me is before I call an executive, usually it's, I'm calling multiple different departments because I know I know the pain points that, typical companies have that, doing this for a while, like accounting, how are you capturing costs? How do you allocate costs manually? Cool, right? Salespeople though, you're losing if you have like, people don't understand or people don't even realize that how many sales are lost due to transportation, right? Take this example. I sat there and we had the transportation manager, CFO, and CEO. Transportation manager, we go, when an order comes in, or let's just say a maybe sale, right? It's not even a PO. What's going on? And he just went on a rant. The transportation guy, he was like, "Listen, I have salespeople call me that they need a quote, and again, their CEO made a rule that you have to go out to 4 different carriers to get a quote. So 4 different platforms, whether that's calling, emailing, maybe they have a website, 4 different times for a maybe sale, right? That's not even a sale, Dan. For a maybe sale, that takes probably, let's just say 40 minutes. I ballpark 40 minutes. Shooting that back over to your sales rep, that's just a one maybe sale, Dan, right? Again, turns out that's a lot of time, right? Did you lose that customer? Like, what is that is a big issue. It's like, did maybe you, and they don't even know, again, don't even know if they are saving money because they don't have any type of visibility into that. So let's just say you did save $10, but again, it took 30 minutes and you lost that customer because you sell widgets and another company sells widgets and was able to do it, streamline that like that. Oh yeah, we got a quote, boom. That's an issue, right? If you're losing sales, but for $10 in savings, you got to weigh those options, right? It's like, that's a lot of time. That's one maybe sale, right? So it goes back to, again, salespeople are huge, but it goes back to, you have to put some business rules in place, right? And let's face it, not anymore, but it's like, we've all had a boss that, or, someone we had to report to. And at the end of the day, I'll even say me, I didn't, just strictly on the sales side, if I didn't, really look at something, big picture, again, I don't see why I'm that person. It's like, I don't want to switch. I'm just looking through my lens, right? You need to get that executive involved that sees big picture and needs to stress, again, the importance of these business rules, why we're doing it, why we're making these changes, how it's going to impact sales. Hey, sales, we're doing this because it's going to increase your GP, right? You don't think the salespeople makes money on that? You don't think?
No, for sure. That's why they have an invested interest if you screw up and don't own it and don't fix it.
Dude, so there's I mean, you know me, I could go off on a rant, but it's like, I think first and
No,
foremost,
you never do
right? It's a, it's a blessing and a curse, but more or less, dude, I think people just need to take it, like, again, it's a us issue. It is I said this, talking to Tara, that VP of supply chain. I said, I apologize for our industry. It's us. It is a us thing. It's like, listen, it's we all have to deal with some rejection, right? I don't, more or less, like, I don't hear no's, because, like, I hear no's in a weird way, right? Because I'll get a first meeting, but, like, not everyone's a good fit, right? Not everyone's like wants to go this route, which is fine. But what I do see is,
Oh, they're just not part of your customer profile. We
yeah,
talked
and that's
about that.
and that's
And if
fine,
they're
right?
not, fine. Do your business the way you do it. I'm going to do it the way I do it, because if
They don't see
I
the big picture.
don't adhere to my way of doing it and we are not congruent, it's never going to work long term anyway. So why get involved? Why do I even start?
But I think more or less the lack of, really, like, I mean, really just sit back. You know what I realized after this whole pandemic, I kind of, like, started dipping my toe into, like, some of these like, it got bad. I just cut myself away from these people after a month. But look at our industry. Look at our industry. No companies, like, really look at it, like, the core group of people in our industry. Nobody's really talking about the root of the cause, right? It's the same topics: rates, carriers, drivers, when realistically we just have to look at ourselves and say, okay, logically, most logical people wouldn't be, keep circling back to the same problem 9, 10, 11 months, years down the road. Come up with some idea other than rate or carrier and all this. The industry's changing. It's just a huge problem. And internally, like, again, it is a me, it is a we problem, it is a you problem, right? It is a you problem. And then that stems from a ripple effect of, again, companies in our industry. I'll call it what it is. 90% of these people don't know shit about sales, right? They haven't done it. They always say, it's like, this is the way we've always done it. And that's a ripple effect, dude. Eventually that just really starts killing your entire sales organization. Yeah, you might be profitable, but there's an issue when your reps have been on for 7 years and can't think outside of, hey, here's a rate. That's the biggest issue in our
Well,
industry.
and not only think outside of that, they can't continuously scale, right? Actually, so we've got Asher here. AJ is asking, what about packaging?
What about it?
What about packaging? So AJ, or Asher, we'll call you AJ. AJ, when you mean packaging the sale? If you can just clarify that, and then Mike and
Or
I can dive into
packaging?
that bad boy for you. Yeah, packaging. I would think it's packaging the sale, right? What we are finding is that bulk packaging and returnables are the next level of supply chain. Okay, I see what you're saying here. So supply chains. I see this. So if we're talking great conversation, Andrew, brother, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm thriving, baby.
Yeah. Andrew, actually, so Andrew and I go way back, and AJ will I'll get to your question in a second. Andrew and I go way back. Andrew's actually been on multiple sides of the industry, owned his own company, worked with me at a brokerage. Now he drives truck. Andrew's got some great things on the go, and he's seeing
Nice.
grassroots, marine in the ditches, what's going on in the industry. I want to dive into AJ's question here, okay, Mike, because
What do I
what
elaborate?
yeah, well, because so he says what we're finding is that bulk packaging and returnables are next level of supply chain. I've actually found a lot of companies that are actually going that route, and here's where I see it started, and I'd love your take on it. In 2018, when the market completely flipped. Okay, so for everybody listening, prior to anyone saying anything, the reality is in 2018, I believe that rates were at where they should be for all you asset-based people out there, because I believe that the dirt cheap rates that we see in the market are pathetic, but unfortunately, one turns over to the other. I actually saw a lot of this bulk packaging, a lot of different ways and processes to ship because of the cost being so high. Again, in quotations.
Are you
One of the
basically saying,
customers.
like, consolidation?
Well, so Somewhat, and I'll give you a perfect example. So one of the customers that I worked with was all big quartz stone, big slabs of stone. And what we did is the typical packaging, if you will, from greater density in transit, less disposal waste and greater efficiency. Exactly. So what we did is instead of sending B trains from one end of Canada to the other, I went into the company. We structured an SOP. I went to the rail lines in Canada, got it approved by their safety and compliance department, and we started shipping those transfers out west at a third of the price. So you see, we got rid of a lot of what he's talking about. Rumor lumber slated to rise in cost 8 to 10% for North America. Paper, cardboard going up to 100%. AJ, I'll tell you right now, people up here, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the US, but up here in Canada, you go into Home Depot and stuff, and there's less than a third of the wood that used to be there. I built a foundation for a shed that was 10 by 14, and it cost me over $200 in wood, which last year at this time, it would have cost me maybe 100, 150. I mean, it's doubled in price, 100%.
Dan, hold on, because I do want to. I want to get. I kind of think I understand where you're going with this, but it was what I'm hearing is, again, you're just built out a strategy, a carrier strategy, or a procurement strategy to obviously drive costs down and enhance efficiencies, right? So in my head, I think of like, hey, order size, minimum order sizes, right? I got a lot of customers that go into big box retailers, and they're shipping, smaller orders once a week. Okay, let's offer an incentive, a little discount to that customer, and ask if we can just ship one large shipment once, right? Consolidate the 5 shipments you ship LTL a week or a month. Let's consolidate that into, one shipment a month, and then give that, again, both sides win. We consolidate those 5 shipments into one, drive costs down, give your customer a little bit of an incentive, which also, again, makes them want to do things that way.
Yeah. So AJ's saying here, he's got a point. He's saying returnables are traditionally not good for one-way transit. You have to pay to send back packaging we deliver to pack. So I guess in the end, what AJ's saying is, reconstruct the orders, reconstruct the way it's shipped so that packaging doesn't have to come back, right? Because returnables,
if you have an issue, you don't want to.
No, but just even look at the automotive industry. How many times do they ship on racks and the racks go back? Right, so you're doubling in essence.
I got you.
You're almost doubling your freight costs. So how can we start enhancing those efficiencies to help customers? Yeah,
you have to build out a strategy, and that ties into what I always do. Right, it's like, again, I don't know. Like there's a ton of everything is situational, but the biggest thing is I stress is I'm always getting data. Again, people talk about visibility and metrics. It really means shit unless you know exactly what you're looking like, what key metrics drive value inside your company. And then once you can see that from, again, accurate data on what you're trying to capture or whatever cost drivers you want to capture, then you build out something. It's insane, to think is, I say it all the time, and give me 90 days or shit, give me a year of your data if you have it, and build out a supply chain analysis. Again, there's so many different things you can do inside of just seeing that data that's going to, again, enhance efficiencies and in turn increase profitability. Because at the end of the day, I think that's the biggest thing is we need to eliminate waste. And I'm talking from a company side, they want to eliminate waste, mitigate risk, and increase profitability. GP, increasing gross margins, is huge for a lot of companies, especially, again, I focus on, these high growth stage emerging CPG brands that are trying to, eventually get capital investment. No one's going to look at you unless you have at least a bare minimum of 40% GP, right? Gross margin's got to be at 40%. So figuring out how to do it like that.
Yeah, so he's saying returnables are exposing deficiencies in FIFO. So yeah, I mean, AJ's right on. Being able to, I guess so. AJ, one thing as well, and I mean, Mike here, without data, it's just an opinion. Derek, yeah.
Hey,
So Derek
Right
is
on,
absolutely right. Right? What are the odds? Staple Master 9000 in the house.
dude.
And he's right. Without a data, it's just an opinion, or it's a guess, an opinion.
Nobody gets data though, dude. You know how many times? That's another thing is like people look at me and they're like, wait, you gather all these invoices? Like, yeah, I don't go to a doctor and just say fix me. Like, no, I'm not going to give you like. Don't want to give me your data. Like, I'm not going to go to a doctor and be like, I don't feel good, but I don't want you to check me. Just guess what I
I'm
have.
not gonna. I'm not gonna answer any questions. Just fix me.
Like, right? It's like, dude, that to me is like, again, if we talk about, I don't want to get too deep into like the sales process thing, but it's a huge objection, but it's like nobody asked for it. It's like, dude, well, how are you actually going to ever like provide any type of solution or even opinion without it?
Mm-hmm.
But
And
that's a
you know
whole
what?
new
So
topic.
then now we're transitioning right back to the beginning of the conversation, because everybody wants to move everybody's freight, but they have no idea the data behind it. And until you
Dude,
have the data behind it, until you can actually, so I'll give you a perfect example. We had, before I left my corporate career, you need as much data as you can get, Derek says, 100%. Before I left my corporate career to start high performance logistics sales, um, the big thing that I had is I was doing a lot of California, Ontario, and then distribution, consolidation and distribution. And in sitting down with the customer, I had all the data and I looked at it, and I even went a step above and I said, your prime shipping, like the space, was 9 pallets. Prime shipping was 9 pallets. And they went from shipping 3-4 days a week to shipping 2 days a week at 9 pallets. And I know some people are going to say, but yeah, but Dan, you may be making less money. And I say yes, because you went from like 5 loads a week down to 2. But you know what? Long term
you're
ROI for the customer is there. Long term relationships are there. And every other person that's calling them to say, I could do this, they're going to say, yeah, but would you have just done it that way? Or would you have done it another way? And that all came from data.
dude.
All of it came from data.
Dude. It's I'll use this as a huge example. The one of the biggest, again, I'll go back to in the CPG industry, right? The biggest challenge I see in companies is knowing the cost to serve or how to properly allocate their transportation costs into their pricing model, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times they're like, we just say, hey, we do 12% of the sale is transportation, when really, again, the data lets me go in and really get super in depth and build out a cost to serve analysis by products, customers, and locations, and showing you exactly an accurate way to, again, price or allocate your transportation costs into that pricing model, which is going to allow you to I don't want to say 100% eliminate your transportation spend, but if you can accurately allocate your transportation costs in your pricing model, those, and really pinpoint, hey, what customers are low to negative margin, what customers are medium, and what customers are high margin, and then focus on that. Again, you don't want to, maybe you get rid of them, but your goal is figuring out how to get that negative to low margin customer, product, location into the medium sector, right? How do I increase those margins?
If they meet
You
your
have
client
data.
profile.
Well,
No, but if
I
they
mean,
meet your client profile. So part of your client profile, and we'll go back to that again, Mike, part of your the way I see it anyways, brother, sorry, I didn't mean to put that like as a hard, fast exclamation point, but your client profile is X. You can't do your job properly through your client profile without data.
I
So a
can't do. I
customer,
couldn't.
no, but now the
Yeah,
question,
you're
okay,
right.
so now the question that, right?
I'll
So then
never
the
send you
question
a rate. I'll
becomes,
never send you a rate. I can't. There's no way. Like, I've tried it, and it's just like it's, dude, I can't. Like, I literally
yeah,
had a guy book a meeting in my calendar. He knows my thing, dude. I could help him just from, again, it was a transportation manager, dude, uses 5 different 3PLs, and this is a lot of LTL. I was like, brother, man, just, I said, don't even work with me, stick with, and they're not even, he doesn't even have a platform. I said, stop emailing, go to one, I know the one company, just go to them and say, hey, I want to utilize you for just strictly LTL, get some CSP. He didn't want to hear it, right? But I can't,
mhm.
wouldn't give me data. You're right, I can't do it. I've tried it. I mean, there's nothing I can bring to the table without data. And that goes back to my point, though. It goes back to my point. Nope. 9 times out of 10, when I'm meeting with an executive, having the first conversation, if they're bought in, hey, how do I see all that? You just showed me this, presentation on, Power BI, and, you broke down these key metrics of similar companies that are to me and how they were able to, do X, Y, Z. What do I got to do? What do I got to give you? Well, I just needed data. Just, ask your controller to give me 90 days of data, and we'll go from there. And that is, I can't do anything without it.
Andrew, if he's still on here, he's gonna laugh at this, and so will Derek probably. I've said from pretty much almost the beginning of my career, when somebody goes and sends a blanket email out, they're artificially inflating the market and they're artificially inflating demand, and they're actually paying higher rates. And I've said it for eons, and it blows my mind how many companies still do it. And if you're listening and you're one of those companies that do it, and you call it, challenge me on it, whatever you want, connect with me and I'll show you a way to come into more consistent, and even turn it into a cost per piece to help you mitigate that. Because we do, as brokers, you send it out to 5 brokers, and a carrier hears, oh, I just got a call from a 4th broker, prices start going up, because now that becomes in demand. And especially now, I mean, Mike, listen,
just hurts my head.
What's that? Sorry?
Dude, I just, like, even talking about it, I'm just like, I know this is going to sound conceited, but, like, honestly, if I, like, it would probably, it obviously would never happen, but if someone just, like, I just got to stress it out there. Like, I'm just screaming, give me your data, don't work with me, but I'm so pro 3PL, brother, that I will promise you there's something, unless you have, like, this, even these huge companies, I see it. Give me your data. Let me just show you exactly what you could do, and a 3PL can bring to the table. I don't care if you work with me, but at the end of the day, stop the nonsense of literally, like, it drives me insane. Stop the nonsense of just brokering out all this shit. People are like, are we losing our mind? Like, really, any way in life is, listen, if you beat up, like, these companies think that they are running the show. Listen, carriers and the carrier is, you need the carrier, right? And these brokers, hear me out.
I spend more time on my relationships with my suppliers than I do my customers.
Hear me out on this, though. And then people like literally talk about paying these drivers bad. Again, guess what? I'm bringing a lot of volume, because you're giving me everything, right? And at the end of the day, it's my job to figure out how to drive costs down to make it profitable on my end without having to beat up a carrier. I want my carriers getting paid more money than me. I want my ops people getting paid more money than me, because at the end of the day, dude, sales is easy, right? I always say it, and I'm a salesperson. They're making the deal stick. That is on us. And again, most people need to realize that, like, dude, you have to figure out ways to make the outside people that are actually driving, like, keeping your deal together, paid. And that starts with the carrier. And that starts with me building out a solution tailored to that company without having to beat up, hey, that truckload carrier, or that carrier says, hey, I'll give you $1 million in volume. Not even give me your best rate. I'm not going to beat you up about it. And it's yours, locked in for a year.
You know what? We got to end on that note, brother, because that is key. Sales brings it in, ops and the suppliers and your relationships run it long term. I'm going to take 2 seconds out here for everybody watching, because for those of you that have not heard of the High Performance Summit coming December 11th, originally, and here, I'll bring you back in, actually, Mike, for me to share this story. Originally, we were going March 20th, 2020, and we had just about 300 seats sold. And unfortunately, with the pandemic, as you all know, everything got shut down. And it was literally 2 weeks before. We had Nick Redstone flying in from New Zealand. I had Marcus Ogden flying in from North Carolina. I had Sean Shuchuk flying in from Calgary. It was meant to be that event that really catapulted 2020 for salespeople. And, Mike, I'm sure you've been there. I know I have, where, I mean, devastating to have that, right? Months of preparation and lead up, professional audio video company, the works. And it just, in like 30 seconds flat, I remember vividly, my wife walked into the office and she said, I think you're going to have to cancel it. It's just been declared a pandemic. And everything just went shut down, right? and the deflation, the internal friction, if you will, or the internal conflict was huge, because it's like, okay, I know it wasn't really my fault, but what is the universe telling me? Because I'm one of those guys where it's, you put it out in the universe and it lives.
Hey, I'm a hippie too, man.
Yeah, that is exactly, man. I got Birkenstocks now. So, but sometimes what starts off as this massive turmoil and friction turns out to be actually a massive benefit. I didn't know you by then. You're now part of the sales panel
Silver
on
lining,
the
dude.
High Performance Summit. You know what? The silver lining is now we're digital. So for all of you watching and listening, if you've been here this long, you've obviously enjoyed the conversation. I urge you to head over to dandeegan.com/HPS-summit, or just go to my homepage, dandeegan.com. You'll see the High Performance Summit. We are giving away seats. Now, there is an option for $97 to purchase the recordings of the day in a membership area with all the tools, a workbook, and all the worksheets and everything from what happens. But it's a free day to help salespeople really build back that energy, joy, enthusiasm, and really excitement for this industry. So I hope everyone watching will take advantage of that. Go over, register, get your free ticket to join us digitally, because you know what, Mike? The big thing that I see now is now we're global. Whereas before somebody had to physically fly into Toronto and, hotels, and the expense was astronomical. Now you can do it right from your house, right from your office. And as soon as it's done at 4:30, you go and start implementing all the information. I mean, Sean Shuchuk, #1 results coach. We've got Marcus Ogden, an international bestseller of the Success Cycle. We got Nick Redstone, director of Right the First Time Consulting. There's going to be some serious power hit that stage. And I'm happy to announce that Mike here is going to be joining us in the sales panel as well. So for all of you watching, we hope you enjoyed this. We're going to probably do a few more lives of the HPLS podcast, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.